our lives, meaning we have a clear path to you, God. And so thank you. Thank you for your forgiveness of our sins, and we just want to lift that up in worship and praise here this morning. Amen.
How's everybody doing? Let's worship the Father together this morning. Sing with me. I have tasted, I have seen the realness of your love for me. It's written on your hands and feet. It's all the evidence I'll ever need. 'Cause your love is better than life. I can't even wrap my mind around it. One day, here in your house is better than 1,000 elsewhere. Your love keeps on running, running, keeps on running after me. Keeps on running, running, keeps on running after me, yeah. And there's no one else to take your place. There's nothing that can separate. Oh, how high, how wide, how deep Thank you, guys. You can go ahead and have a seat.
All right, here's your question. Whoever can do the best at defining this. Do we have anything left over? Oh, Mr. Beast Easter egg. All right, we'll give one of these two, okay? I need you to define what is love. That is your question for the morning. What is love? Anybody give me a definition of what is love? If I think it's the best choice, I'll give you something. Yes, sir. All right, it's like when God died on the cross for us, wanting to save us from the grave, from death. That's a great one. I don't mean to sound like non-spiritual in that, man. It's an awesome one. I want you thinking just overall general, like if you were like, I love this person, what does that mean? What is that love? One of you ladies or both of you. What do you got? Caring for someone more than yourself. All right, that's a good one. Oh, yes, Chloe Love, go ahead. Unconditional, all right? Meaning like just whatever it is, you're still right by their side. Lauren, what do you got? Trust. Is there more to love than just trust? Yes, sir. Deep care of person. Is that what you said? Deep care of person. Yes, ma'am. All right, accepting someone despite their flaws unconditionally. What were you going to say? All right, moving beyond just how you feel in that moment, but you continue to do that. Anybody else have a little bit better definition? Rudy, was your hand up? No? What do you got? Yes, sir, Bentley. All right, showing caring, affection. Does anybody have anything they would say, like, I got one that's a little bit better than all of that? Anybody say, like, this is what love would be? Anybody else? Yes. All right, there's a deep feeling inside, but I don't know what to do without them. All of these things are on the same track. They all have something to do with love. I'll take one more. Yes. All right, having compassion for other people. Now, I think you could probably combine all of those things to be the definition. I'm going to give you this because I can't say that your definition was wrong when you said because Jesus Christ died for all of our sins. So just because I don't want God to be mad at me, I'm going to give you that one on there. But that is what we're talking about. All of those things, though, could be about love. And so as we're talking about this whole comeback kid, this whole idea of what Jesus did and how Jesus overcame, that's got peanut butter in it, by the way. I should probably mention that. Are you allergic to peanut butter? Okay, I don't want anybody seizing up in front of us here. I know, I forget, like there's rules at schools and stuff now with peanut butter. So we started this series about what Jesus offered, and Jesus offered us this hope. And we started talking about that last week on this idea that what Jesus did by going into Jerusalem, by being crucified, by placing in that grave, but coming out of it again. And so last week we talked about his story with Lazarus. And how Lazarus was sick, and Jesus went, and Martha and Mary were upset. And they're like, if you would have been here. And so they had their hope, but they lost it. But Jesus reminds Mary, he says, hey, who am I though? And she says, look, I know he would still be alive, and I know this, but I also believe you're the Messiah. So even though nothing went her way the way she thought it was, she still had hope because of who Jesus is. And so we looked at some of that idea that Jesus can bring that hope to us. And so I want to remind that because these stories kind of go in a progression. And so after Lazarus was raised from the dead, all these people, like thousands of people, heard about what was taking place. And they all kind of spread this into Jerusalem because this town that they were in was just like a mile or two away from Jerusalem. And thousands of people are going to Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover, which is during that Easter, like our Easter period. And the Passover was this big Jewish holiday. And so now you have thousands and thousands of people celebrating, and they hear about this Jesus, and they hear about this man that did these miracles, how he's fed people, how he's healed people, and on his great teachings. And now they hear about the fact that he rose somebody from the dead. And so all these people are freaking out, and they're going crazy about Jesus. And Jesus comes into the town. And what we see in this next little lesson and what Jesus does here is just his heart towards us and what he asks us how to treat other people. See, when Jesus rode into town, he rode on a donkey. And he rode on a donkey for a reason. And this wasn't something just that Jesus did. But riding a donkey was this. It was kind of this symbol. If you were a conquering person, you came in to conquer a land, or maybe you just took over. So like Quentin takes over. You go to Grain Valley, right? So Quentin takes over Blue Springs South, okay? Now Quentin might come in riding on a horse and carrying a sword, and he's like, that representative, a conquering king came into a new conquered area in such a manner, it was like he's coming to bring death. Quentin's going to come and just destroy everybody at Blue Springs South, okay? But Quentin could also choose to come riding in on a donkey. And this was a sign of, hey, I've overcome. I come in peace. I come to rule in peace over this area. And so this was actually predicted way ahead in Zechariah in the Old Testament, hundreds and hundreds of years before Jesus was around, about how the Messiah would enter into Jerusalem to be a conquering king, that he would come as this peaceful, humble king. And so if all these people freaking out about what Jesus did with Lazarus, like we talked about last week, and now they see Jesus riding in on this donkey showing, I'm coming in humble, with a humble heart. And just like what you guys just described as love, you said it's compassion. It is this overwhelming feeling of joy for someone. It is unconditional, and it doesn't matter what people have done in their past, you still care for that person. What Ethan said, it doesn't matter how you feel in that moment, but you're still going to care for that people even if they've done something wrong. And this is how Jesus entered into Jerusalem, as this loving and compassionate and humble king. And then after all this celebration, he goes and he kind of takes care of some temple business that he deals with, and then he eventually has a meal with his disciples. And when he sits down with his disciples, if you were here last week, Pastor Randall talked about this. When he sits down with his disciples, he shows them, this is how I want you to treat other people. This is how I want you to show love. Now, this was supposed to be their conquering king, their Messiah. This was the guy that's going to lead them against the Roman Empire and bring Israel and Jerusalem back up into this, high power. And he is coming in and saying, but I want you to show love to people. In John 13:34, he says, I'm giving you a new commandment, to love each other. Was that in there? Yeah. To love each other, just as I have loved you. You should show each other love, for your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. All of those things that you guys just answered, he's saying, this is how I want you to treat other people, because that type of love will show who you are with me. They will know that you are a believer. They will know how you care in your relationship with God if you show people love. Now, he says this right after the fact of what he just did. See, a few verses before that, it says the evening meal was in progress. Jesus, I'm going to jump down a little verse here. It says, Jesus got up from the meal, took off his outer clothes, which had been kind of like the first robe that they wore over their normal clothes there. And he wrapped a towel around his waist, and he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. And so Jesus did this as a way of showing humbleness and servanthood to his disciples. Now, again, I don't want to go over a whole lot of this because Pastor Rendell did the whole thing on it last week. And if you were up in service, he explained like how your feet are dirty then. You didn't wear tennis shoes back then, and there weren't paved roads or anything like that. There were some cobbled roads maybe in the main street, but most of the areas were just dirt roads, and everybody just walked around in, basically like thin, cheap sandal-looking things. And so their feet were dirty, and they were supposed to wash them before they come into a house. And Jesus sits, and he washes all of the disciples' feet, showing, look, all these people that just celebrated me as a king. Who's a celebrity who would freak out if they walked in this room right now? Give me one celebrity. This was a open bag here. Do what? All right, there's a lot of Sean. I don't know. I heard a lot of names. The Rock, what'd you say? I don't know. Any of those celebrities. All right. You just named out a bunch of different random people. I opened that up. I don't know why I was explaining. So just say one of those guys or girls or whoever you just yelled came in here, and everybody's like freaking out, and security like had to push them out of the doors. Like, no one else. He's just going to be in here in the core. And this person that you are like, oh my gosh, everybody's freaking out. And they're like, I can't believe they're here. And they're like, hey, I'm just here to, serve you guys. And like it'd be weird in our culture if they started washing feet. Like it doesn't kind of translate right now in our culture now. But let's just say he's like, hey guys, I'm just here to, when you're done, I was going to sweep the floors and mop and take out trash. Like that's all I came here for. And like, what? Why is he doing that? Or she, whoever your celebrity or big person that you'd be crazy for. Like that is what Jesus was doing here. And he says, I want you to catch that. Where he says, your love for one another. All right, as you love other people, your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. That is big right there. He wants them to understand how you love people is going to show that sort of love to other people. That's going to show people who you are in me. And unfortunately, that doesn't always take place. When they did a huge survey, this national survey, a few years back, they asked people that went to church that no longer go to church, why did you stop going to church? And what they found out was, I'm going to kind of read these stats because it's kind of crazy. It said that 60% of the people that stopped going to church, it was because they felt like the people and other Christians, other believers, were judgmental towards them. They didn't make them feel comfortable with them. Or they showed this like self-righteousness. There's other groups of people that said, I've never been to church, but here's why I don't go to church. And they said the same thing. The stats were almost even. For the people that did go to church and no longer went to church, their feelings were the same as people that had never been into church. And so they're saying, we stopped going because all these people talk about love and this and that, but like they didn't show it. It wasn't there. They got hurt by people in the church, or they got burned by relationships in the church. And they're saying, we didn't see it there. And this is exactly why Jesus said, I want you to love people, because that's what people are looking for. They're not looking for, they may come because like, oh, worship was really great. And that may be why they start coming to a church. They might come because they're like, oh, we like the pastor there, we like what they do, or, they got, it's fun. They might start going for that reason. But Jesus says, but they're going to know if you're for real, though, by how you treat and how you serve and how you love each other. And one of the ways we show that love and what Jesus was trying to show them is you serve them. One of you guys said, when you start to put other people before yourself, and I forget who said that, but that is what Jesus was doing here. He's saying when you start to put other people before yourself, they feel lifted up. They feel cared for. They feel like, man, these people, like, they're with me. And that is what Jesus asked us to do. See, all these people that went to church and no longer, and they stopped going to church, They left for the very thing that Jesus said, this is what you need to be doing, though. If they had been shown that love, if they had been shown cared for, if they had been having people in their life going out of their way and putting others before themselves, maybe they wouldn't have stopped going to church. And so I want you guys to think about, like, what does that look like in your own life, in our own relationships, and what we are doing? How are we putting other people before? How do we show other people that sort of love before we can ever explain to them what Christ did? Before we can explain to them, like, the resurrection, and here's what Jesus did and the forgiveness. What do people see in our life just in easy daily passing by? How can we put other people before ourselves in simple, easy ways? And I want you, when you go to your small groups here in a few minutes, just to have conversations about these things. Just to be able to talk about these things and what that looks like. Because it can be so, like, simple things. And we've talked about this before. Little ways around the house. Like, how do you show your parents, like, this is love? How and what way? If Jesus said by showing love, it means serving. It means putting other people before you. How are you doing that around the home? How do you, has anybody ever done chores that weren't your normal chores? And you just did some extra stuff that you see your parents doing, and you just are like, you know what, I'm going to do that today. Just somebody raise their hand if that was ever any of you. All right. Did you have your parents react in any way when you did that without asking? Anybody's parents, like, look at you like, oh my gosh, thank you? Like, any parents flip out? Did any parents check you for a temperature and make sure you're feeling okay? Like, yeah. You know why? Because they were just like, whoa, like, you went out of your way for this. Have you ever done something really nice for your brother and sister that they weren't even asking you to do? And what? Why? How do they respond? If you've ever did that, how did your sibling respond when you just did something nice for them out of the blue for no reason? Anybody? You guys are, yeah, what happened? Somebody. You got all the snow and ice off of her windshield. How did she respond? It made her morning. Yeah, it made her morning just because you went out and scraped her windshield, even though she's the one driving you to school, and you went and did something for her out of her way. Guys, we've all had something like that done for us. But it just shows you those little things, like, oh, man, mom and dad have been working a lot lately, so I just kind of cleaned the house a little bit, or I did a couple loads of laundry, and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you. They freak out because that shows this love when you do these little things. And maybe it's for somebody in your family, and maybe it's just for a friend. Maybe it's for, like, oh, I just did this, grabbed you something like this. And they're like, oh, thank you. Like, maybe you pick up a friend, and you're like, oh, I grabbed the donut from Quick Trip for you just in case. And they're like, oh, that's awesome. Guys, when it happens, we don't even know how to react. We're like, what? Why? What'd you do to it? Like, we don't even know. We just assume they, like, spit on it or, put something gross in it because we don't even know how to handle that sometimes. We're, like, we're just not used to people doing that. But Jesus said, this is how you need to be treating people. Like, putting them before yourself. Helping a friend out. Help a friend out with their chores. Doing whatever. Maybe it's even at school. Maybe it's something you see, like, trash laying around the floor, and you're like, all right, I could leave that there. I know the janitor's getting ready to pick up this. I could probably just take this trash off the lunch table and throw it away really quick. Whatever it is where people see that. And I promise you, like, teachers and people see these things. Now, here's why. Not just like, okay, go be good people and do extra chores. That's not what this is about. It's about the idea of how do I go beyond myself in the world around me? And that looks different for everybody. It's going to look different in your own household. It's going to look different at school. It's going to look different at friends. How girls may do this in their friend group is probably going to look a lot different than how guys do it in their friend group. But how do I go and put others beyond myself in the relationships around me? And that's what Jesus was really asking here. It may be when someone new shows up. Do you think about how would they feel, how would I feel if I was the new person? Okay, I'll talk to that person. I'll invite them to come sit with us. Whether it's the lunch table or it's the core. Like, do we have that same sort of heart or that same sort of attitude towards other people? If you see someone just standing around in the gym before service and you and your friends are playing basketball, do you like, hey, do you want to play? Or do you just like pretend like you don't see them? You know, these are those little things that matter. And so this is what Jesus is trying to make them understand. Now, he doesn't say, hey, do work because doing work is good. It's not what Jesus said, right? He said, this is how I want you to love people. This is how, and by doing these things, this will show people my love for you. And that is what Jesus is trying to get them to understand. And so if in your heart you're saying, I want people to know that I have a relationship with Jesus. And I want people to know that, like, God loved me and that I love other people. This is what Jesus is telling them to do then. Go and be that same sort of heart and servant to other people. And so when you guys, like, when you go into your groups, I want you to think about, how do we do this? And these teachings right now are really important, because here's the deal. These last few teachings as Jesus entered Jerusalem, imagine if you have this ministry and you're with these guys and you know you only have a couple days left to live, and you have to tell people about stuff going on in life. These are like his big, important moments. And so he has to make sure, like the disciples, like, you have to get this right. Like, imagine if this was the last time we met as a church, and all the leaders were going to be gone, and I'm gone, and the church is gone, and we're like, guys, this is it. The church doors are closing. There will be no more churches around anywhere in the city. This matters. Serving people and showing love matters. Then everybody will be like, whoa, I think what Rob was trying to say is this matters. This is what Jesus is doing here. He's about to be gone, and he's like, you have to show people love. Why? Because Jesus is saying, because I'm not physically going to be here. They're going to be looking to you. And this is what happens. Your friends look to you. Your friends are looking at your life. Do you show Jesus? And so when you go to your small groups here in a second, I want you to think about, like, when you do serve other people, is it just like, okay, just the people that are deserving of it? Or is it, my heart needs to be towards anybody? That I need to be looking at other people in that way? Is it a humbleness and going, hey, I want to help because I would love for somebody to help me in these things? And how can we choose to serve even when it's not convenient for us? Do we still choose to go out of our way for other people? And why? I want you to talk about in your small groups, why? Why would this matter? Why is Jesus saying this is love? Because we can talk about it, but if you don't leave here understanding the why, ooh, party time. All right. So I want you to go in your small groups and talk about that. I'm going to pray, and then let you guys get dismissed to your groups. God, we just thank you so much for these students. Thank you so much for a morning of praise and worship, and for these important teaching points. God, that serving other people, doing the little things for our families, for our friends, for our spouses, whoever in this room, when we go out of our way for these things, it is showing love. And God, we thank you for that. Thank you for just you telling us this matters. This is what people are looking at. Do you put others before yourself? And I pray we can have that same sort of attitude, God. Amen. All right, you guys can go ahead and break into your small groups, please. Sophomore guys, is Austin or Robbie over here somewhere? They're over there somewhere. I don't know where. Quentin, just grab that box right there. Sophomores, guard them carefully. Everybody's going to tell you a sad story. Don't give them any donuts. Take them. Guard them with your life. Do what? Yeah, not in this point. Like 10 of your little leeches already ran over there. Hey, man, come on, let me get one of those.